Hey everyone, it's Michelle Cooper. I am joined today by Aryn Savard, who is the owner of the Goddess Movement and a friend of mine, an amazing life coach, movement coach, spiritual body of awesomeness, and brings so much to the world, to her business, to people's lives, and to our event Storm, which we're going to talk about today. Welcome, Aryn.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, so I just wanted to share with you a little bit about Aryn. Aryn is a fire-bellied, adventure-seeking gypsy goddess. Like, holy moly, those words so embody you, Aryn. Oh my God. She loves doing new things, swimming in the ocean, and lives for moments of discovery. I love listening to Aryn's stories about discovery in her life and, you know, her travels and her experiences and all the amazingness. She has so much background in physiology, in fitness. If I ever have a question about something to do with muscles or body stuff or movement or stretching or something, she is my go-to kind of gal because fitness is her thing. And moving your body is something that she does in a way that I've never experienced before. And I invited Aryn into our Storm group, into the coaching group for this amazing event that we're creating. And really, when I thought about what she could bring when we talk about the elements of storm, for me, the cloud came into my kind of vision of it, because the cloud in a storm, it comes in, it can be very powerful, it moves around, it changes, there's momentum, and eventually it needs to go. Right? And the things need to move on. And Aryn really brings that movement and that momentum forward. And so I'm really, really excited to share her awesomeness with everyone today. Yay. So Aryn, tell us all a little bit about you and your business.
So I actually own two businesses. One of them you already mentioned, Michelle, the Goddess Movement Studio, which started about 11 years ago. And it is a pole and circus and dance-based studio. So basically the way I tell people is we create new types of movement before the trends actually happen. So it's been something that has been on my mind for many, many years. I've worked in the fitness industry for, oh my gosh, over 20 years now. It's crazy town. I got into fitness, this dates me just a little bit, teaching step and the Reebok step situation.
Oh my God, I love that.
Right? I know. I hesitate saying that sometimes though, because
it's always like, how many steps could I pile my little thing on? Like, how high could you go? Right?
Yes.
It was awesome.
Totally. So that's how I got into kind of fitness, and my degree is in exercise physiology, and I spent a number of years working kind of in that traditional fitness field, and just got to the point where I wanted something new, I wanted something different, and through a number of experiences, both personally and things that I observed in other women, what I didn't like was how much women didn't like themselves and didn't like each other. And I thought, there's got to be a way to change this. And so that's how I started my pole fitness studio. It needed to be something that was feminine based movement, because it needed to be something that women weren't needing to be men to do, or they didn't need to have to be within a room with men to do. It's something that we all needed to kind of be a little bit more internal about. And we needed a space to express that kind of sensual and feminine side of ourselves. So That's how my studio came to be. And through the course of the 11 years, I've created many, many, many different types of movement and classes. And they all have led me kind of to this point, which is a new kind of side of my business, or a new business altogether, actually, that I started in January. And that's just the ArynSavard.com business. I had been, over the last 10 years in my studio, helping women through all kinds of different things in their lives, and mainly just through my own experiences and observing things in trends for women and what all kinds of women were dealing with. And so I thought, okay, cool, like, let's make this a thing. And I want to reach out to more people that aren't in my studio to have access to me. And through a whole course of injuries and personal development over the last year, the other thing that has gone into ArynSavard.com is taking movement away from something that is a task or a to-do and turning it into something that is really creative, something that is experimental every time we go in, and something that is a way for us to experience the world around us and the world in us. And that's kind of this whole new push of movement. And that's part of what I'm going to be bringing to Storm is understanding that movement is essential to our bodies. It's essential to our well-being. And rather than having it be this set of rules of you have to do this and you have to do it a certain way and you have to move like this, rather, how about we just provide a suggestion to you in terms of almost like a coloring page. So if I were to hand you a coloring book, you wouldn't sit there with a blank page going, I don't know where to start. You would have some loose guidelines, some lines. You would find a drawing that kind of excited you. And then I give you a whole box of crayons. And I'm like, have at her. Like, I'm not going to tell you how to hold your crayon or which color to use. I'm just going to give you the tools. And that's how I'm approaching movement now. And it has nothing to do with equipment. It has nothing to do with even the space that you're in, because we're going to be doing this on the beach. So excited, I know. But it's all about providing you with this beautiful set of tools and then asking you, what do you feel like doing? And how does that feel in your body? Mm-hmm. And when we do that, we're able to connect the brain to the body, to the spirit, to the emotions in a whole new way that you can't when you're running on a treadmill or lifting weights or even actually being in most fitness classes. So that's the ArynSavard.com side of things, is everything is creative and experimentally led. And it's you finding your pathway through what feels good and how you want to stretch and how you want to reach beyond kind of the confines of what we're given, whether that's body or thought processes.
That's awesome. I love the approach of curiosity and experimentation, right? Like, it's something that I've put into my business over the past year, and even into my life in general. And I think that it's a really great approach to your body and moving your body, right? Like, if I try this and just see what happens, right? Like,
exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And then when something doesn't feel good, you experiment and you find a new way to move through it. Or when something challenges you, you have the choice now to kind of sit with it and to nurture it and to move around it and through it and find your own pathway. And the other reason why I want to create movement this way and why I think Storm is amazing is because the end of it, we move through this like shift, this big shift in our lives. And in movement, it happens too, and especially when we're doing experiment and curiosity-led stuff, is we start to question, go, oh, I wonder what it would feel like if I moved like this. And you start to move through it, and you're like, ooh, that's really challenging. Or, oh, I don't feel as strong as I thought I would, or I don't feel as fluid as I thought I would. So then you have the option to sit with it and to continue to experiment with that particular range of motion until you find something that works, until you find something that feels good and makes you feel amazing. And then on the other side of it, you have this beautiful freedom. Rather than sitting before the storm happens, before the shift happens, and just going, oh, I can't do it. Oh, that doesn't feel good. Oh, I don't want to. You sit with it and you move through it and you create and you experiment. And then on the other side, you have this immense freedom that happens. And that is what I want to do with movement right now. And what I really think that Storm is going to be doing for people in a whole number of ways too.
Yeah. I think that it just sounds amazing. Can't wait. Oh my God. You talked a little bit about what excites you about Storm, but when I told you about the event and we started kind of just general chit chat about it and stuff, what excited you about the idea of the event or of the
Yeah, I just actually posted on this. I have a Facebook group called the Soul Gold Sisterhood, and one of the girls was posting about having kind of this crashing together of two things in her life that she's kept very much separate for a while. And she's like, I don't know how to deal with this, and I have all this anxiety. And I posted in there, I'm a little bit of a masochist, I guess, when it comes to stuff like this now, because I've been through enough stormy moments in my life to recognize that on the other end, again, is this immense freedom and joy and like the slingshot effect that happens. So again, like I love space. I love all things cosmos. So when you look at things like that orbit the Earth, right? It's like something gets pulled in really, really close and it starts speeding up and speeding up and speeding up. And when it goes around the Earth or goes around the sun, that's the really hard part. It gets really hot. It's really hard to handle because you're speeding up so fast. But if you can just stay through it, if you can just dig through, you end up with this massive slingshot effect that happens on the other side. And then you have all of this amazing energy and clarity and just excitement about what's to come. But when you stay in that really hard part and you don't want to work through it, you get burnt, right? Whether it's the actual physical sun burning you or whether it's life burning you, you get burnt and you get down on yourself and you can't move forward. And so for me, having an event like this, a lot of what I've done has either been one-on-one with a healthcare provider that I work with, or just me and my journal sitting there trying to work through, like the garbage in life. And I'm like crying on my book and I'm like, I don't know how to make it stop. Right? And then you get angry because you're just like, I'm so by myself. And so what I love about this event is I really truly believe that the people that are going to be coming to this, and I know this is a question to come, so I'll be brief here, but the people that are going to be coming, they're going to be getting so many tools in real time. And it's not just you come and you sit in a group and you listen to a lecture and you write down notes. This event is so unique in that the people are going to be working one-on-one with useful tools with you and actually helping you through these little teeny tiny pieces. So it's not like, here's your workbook, go home at the end of the event and do it.
Right?
You're doing it right then and there, right? You get to process. You get to go from step A to B to C and then go, okay, well, now I don't know what to do with C. And then you've got this whole group of women that are like, I know how to help you through C. And you're like, oh, so it's having this collaborative group thing where not only you're getting tools, but you're also being supported. You're around other people that are choosing to step through the storm in their life. And that is powerful in and of itself because you get a group of like-minded people moving forward in the same direction, and everybody gets to carry that energy with them and gets to benefit from that energy.
Yeah, the momentum is huge, right?
It's huge. It's so huge. And for, you're the one sitting there crying on your journal and you look over and there's 5 other women doing the same thing. You're like, oh, thank God. High five, sister. You're so not alone when you go to this event. And I think that is just hugely, hugely powerful. It's real time and you're going to be completely supported.
Yeah. And it was one of the things that was like when thinking about the event, I've been to a lot of events, right? And I felt like I had only scratched the surface and wanted to go deeper, didn't have the opportunity, because you're moving on to something else, the next topic or the next speaker or the next something, right? Yeah. And to have people there that are going to support you, because sometimes, it brings up the crap, right? That's the whole point, is to clear it out, right? And to have people there to support you in whatever tool fits you,
yes,
and is going to shift you, I think is really important. So yeah, sounds amazing. So tell us about your role in Storm, what you're going to be doing, which, like, oh my God, the moment we said these words, I was like, we have to do this. So.
I have kind of the unique opportunity in that I get to help move people's bodies. It's not just moving emotions or thought processes, but moving people's bodies has a really unique place in processing emotions and processing the hard stuff. And I know for me in my life, when things get really hard and I don't have the answers and I can't logically think through it, and I've already cried as much as I can cry, what I do is I usually go down into my basement or find some time when my studio is completely empty, and I just put on a song and I just move my body. And I ask my body what needs to speak. Where do you need to go? What do you need to say? And that simple question, as long as I can just be quiet and breathe, allows me to transition through things and experience emotions in a different way, and create clarity on the other side of it that I wouldn't have if I wasn't physically moving my tissues in my body. And I know a lot of people are probably going to get into this at the actual event, but our tissues store emotions and memories. And if we can't logically or cerebrally kind of tap into those things, and oftentimes we can't, you can't get to that layer of memory or injury or trauma unless you actually move that part of your body. And when you stretch the cell membranes, and when you move them, and when you bring new life and blood flow and nutrients to them, it allows them to release some of that stuff. And you can't do that any other way than if you're actually moving your tissues. So what I love about this, and kind of this cloud reference is really cool, because when you think about clouds in a storm, they build up all the stuff of like the atmosphere, right? They build up the dust, they build up the water, they build up the electricity to the point where they can't hold it any longer. And then the storm comes, and then it like literally just dumps all of the crap everywhere else. It's like you get rid of it, you put it in the earth so the earth can process it, you discharge all the electricity out into the space, and all of a sudden you're left with something that's really light and airy and floaty that can now be ready to move on to do whatever its next thing is. And that's what I truly believe that my portion of this is going to do, is we're going to get into some of that stuff that you don't even know is there, or you don't realize is affecting your thought processes or your courage to do something, or even very physically, it's actually inhibiting your ability to actually move. You can't turn your head, you can't move your shoulder, you can't walk correctly, you can't stand up for a long time, you can't sit down for a long time. And when we get in there and start to move the body, we're asking the body to release all of that stuff, all of the garbage, all of the icky things that need a chance to move on. And through the movement, through raising our energy level and our heart rate and our bloodstream and all of that, we're giving those cells a chance to get rid of all that debris, all that garbage, literally just like raining it all out. And then we're left with this like beautiful, clean, light, airy slate to decide with what we're going to do next. And when we can process all of that stuff through, now all of a sudden your brain space is also in a totally different place. Your emotions are in a totally different place. And it's like a fresh new coloring book. You know, it's like you've looked at these pages. Like if you've ever gone back to a coloring book from when you were like, 6 years old, and you've got all these pages and the scribbles and the things, it's like we just kind of went, okay, that was cool at that point in time, but we don't need the 6-year-old self anymore. So we're just going to like give that a good little scrub. And now here's your new coloring book, right? And you can look at it at life and what you're doing in a totally different way once you've been able to move through that.
I love that analogy. Like you're, like the embodiment of the cloud, and the fact that it picks up all the stuff, right? Like, and like, sometimes the clouds are not clean kind of thing, right? There's crap in there, and they just soak it all up, and then they like puke it all out somewhere kind of thing, right? So really? I love that. That's a great analogy. So who do you feel would be like an ideal person to come to Storm?
I've thought about this a lot, and I thought about like some moments in my life where I would have been attracted to this had I not been a speaker. And I feel like it's two things. One, I feel like it's the woman who is starting to feel the cycles of things happen in her life, meaning that there's something that keeps reoccurring, whether it's an emotion, whether it's a limiting thought belief, whether it's certain people in her life or a certain type of person in her life, that she feels like, okay, I recognize you, I see you, okay, I'm dealing with you, I'm processing you, and you think you're done with it, but it keeps showing up. And I feel like that is the perfect person for something like this, because you're already a little bit aware that there's something that you need to deal with, and you think you're doing the things, right? You're like, I'm on it. I'm journaling. I'm doing the things. I'm talking to my peeps. I got
this shit,
right? And you literally like squish up the paper and you throw it out the window. You're like, woo! Hey man, I'm done with it, right? And you're like feeling it. You're awesome. And then all of a sudden it's like, and then you're like, oh my gosh. It happened again. How did this happen again? I thought I was done with you, right? So, okay, now am I good? I think we're good. Okay. So it's that, right? It's that feeling, because I know for me, I can't tell you how defeating and frustrating that feeling has been in my life, right? It's like, I'm willing to do the work. I am willing to show up. I am doing the things, and I still can't get there. Yeah. So I feel like that kind of person is perfect for this, because they're going to be exposed to people with new tools and a new way of looking at things that are going to help them through that cycle.
Yeah.
And then the other.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm moving on to another person. So if you have more to say on this person.
I feel like it's like I remember you said, there's never an arrival, right?
Yeah.
And like now I want to like have that tattooed on my arm or something, right? So I can like constantly looking at it. No arrival.
No arrival.
But yeah, like, because I've done a lot of work in the past 3 years or so, and things still come up, and there's always that deeper level, right? And but now I have really great tools and contacts, so that I move through it faster, right? And I see the same with you, right? You can identify it right away. Oh yeah, there you are again, you little guy, and we're moving through.
Yeah. Right? Good job on keeping the verbiage clean there, Michelle.
I know, right? I had another word to say, but I didn't. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So moving on to the next person. Who was your next?
So then the other person I thought of is the person who is like knowing that they want more out of life, or they want to engage in a new or different way, and they just don't really know what that is yet. So it's like you feel that pull of, okay, like I'm doing okay. Like life is good. I've got my things going on. I'm not, super struggling, but you just feel this like inner pull, like there's just something different that I want to be doing, or something more that I want to be doing. And you just don't know what that is yet. And I have found, for me, I call that moment the void. It's like you have the recognition. Sometimes you have the rumble or the storm, and then you have the void, right? But sometimes it's just the recognition, and then the void happens, and then the storm comes afterward. Because now you're challenged with a whole new level of being, right? Like when you have a recognition that there is more, you want more, then you have this void of trying to figure out what it is, and then the storm comes getting you ready. So it's when you're in that void of there's something, I just don't know what it is. And I know for me, that's a very antsy place to be. I'm very good at working hard. I'm very good at driving. I'm not very good at not having a plan, a game plan.
Right.
And for somebody like me, it's very challenging. It can be very defeating feeling, but I've also learned that it's one of the most valuable places to be, because I'm not self-propelled in that moment. When I sit in that void and I'm willing to just be present and listen, then I'm being kind of spoken to and propelled by things bigger and larger than me.
Right.
And then I can go, oh, yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. Yes, cool. And then all of a sudden, people are placed in front of you and opportunities are placed in front of you. And I feel like if people are in that void moment of feeling like they want more or want to do more or they want to experience in a new way, this is also a really amazing place to have that happen, because you're going to be surrounded by women who have been through that process, usually more than once, and they can help you be creative in that process of going, what about this and what about that, and help you identify some things in you that are your strengths or your desires or your passions, and then at the same time help you deal with the storm that's going to come right after it. So it's like a 2-for-1 almost. It's
right?
Like they're going to help you discover that, and then at the same time you're like, oh my gosh, that's really cool, that's really exciting, and then you're like, wait a minute, but it's also really scary and I don't know if I can do it. It's like you're going to get both of that all at the same time.
Yeah.
And so you're going to be leaving this event with like new passions and new desires, and also the courage and the tools to be able to go and do it, which I think is phenomenal.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like those are two really great kind of people that I envision being there, right? And what do you want for people when they leave? Like what do you want them to feel or be, or what do you see that happening? Like, what are they getting out of this?
Yeah, I think on the base level. So another lesson for me, which I would love to share because it will hopefully save people a lot of anxiety, is having this concept of expectation. So a lot of times, you hear us talking and you hear our excitement about what we're going to bring and what we hope to help people with. And it's really easy to develop this expectation of, this is what I'm going to look like on the other side, right? This is what my life is going to look like. This is what I'm going to get out of it. And then oftentimes, if you're not ready for that expectation, or if that's not the right place for you to be, you can feel like you're falling short or you're kind of failing at the end of all of it. So I would say, what I hope people walk away from is not it's not a thing. It's not I'm going to do this with my life and I'm going to solve this problem with my life. It's more so being present in the process. So when you leave this, you understand the process of what it means to be in a storm, to be in the void, to be fearful, and choose to move forward.
Right.
And if you can understand that process, you can apply it to anything you want in life.
Oh my God.
Anything.
Yeah.
Absolutely anything. It can be handling your parent or your parenting with your child. It can be your business. It can be all of a sudden recognizing that you have a new passion in life that you had totally forgotten about. It has nothing to do with making you money. It has nothing to do with having better relationships necessarily, but it has to do with you being more fulfilled on the inside. Totally. And so that is my biggest hope, is that people start to, in this weekend, they start to embrace the process, knowing that, just like we talked about, there's never an arrival. So rather than having like a specific goal on the other side, it's like, okay, I'm being challenged in my business, so I'm going to do this weekend so that I can get this out of my business. It's more recognizing that this process you're going to see over and over and over again in your life. So let's give you tools in this process. Let's make you comfortable with this process. So on the other side, you feel the freedom to expand and grow wherever that's going to be. And that's my biggest hope, is that people don't leave going, I'm going to meet my goal. It's right. Like, no.
I don't think there is a goal in this situation, right? Like it's ever evolving, and it's, for me, it's the tools and the connection that you make, that and the thing that I've experienced, the most in the past 3 years, say, is the importance of the connection, and building that circle, and the value of the tools that I have now, and the people that help me through these things. And just that, the thing that has contributed the most to my life, my business, my everything, has been the self-care and the self-discovery. And that was a huge shift for me as somebody who only focused on business. Like, I need to know the next funnel thing, or the next new branding thing, or whatever it was, right? It's like, it doesn't matter, right? Like, no, it's not that at all. It's, I need to understand myself, right? And that has been probably the biggest change in my business and my life. And that it's got nothing to do with the technical aspects of business.
No, it's just, and not being fearful of that process, you know, and
Yeah.
I think we get fearful because we don't know what it's going to look like, and we don't know how to handle it. And I do definitely feel like that's what's going to be coming out of this weekend is, you know, it's going to be uncomfortable no matter what. And it's the people that are going to come to this are willing to be uncomfortable, right? They already recognize that this is potentially an uncomfortable process to go through, because it's not the happy, joy, let's have balloons and let's like make it all pretty and fabulous.
High five, everyone.
There's going to be some of that, but it comes in the celebration of courage and freedom. And those two things don't come with everything being, you know, Instagram perfect in life. It comes with dealing all the stuff behind Instagram perfect.
Totally. And one thing I forgot to ask you, which I'm so excited about, is the movement experience on the beach.
Yes.
And so this is like something that came out of our conversation, and like you just took hold of and ran with, which, you know, is awesome because that's what you do.
Yes.
But for me, at least, it felt like such a rich experience, and I'm really excited. So can you share a little bit of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the stuff, so for the beginning of the weekend, our movement is going to be done inside. And that's where I help get people comfortable with the process of creative and experimentally led movement. So lots of structure there. So, you know, people don't feel like they're, oh my gosh, this is really weird and I don't know what to do. There is lots of structure there, and it is a process learning how to approach movement from a creative standpoint. And so once we have all of those foundations there and people are comfortable with that process, we're going to take one of our sessions, our last movement session, and we're going to put it outside in the elements. And what I get really pumped about this, and I'm going to give credit to Leela in Hawaii. I went to Hawaii and I had this really incredible experience where she gave us all iPods and then just said, go. And we were on the beach. And I just went, oh my gosh, this is like all of the things that I love to do, but I'm doing it outside. And there's incredible power in our ability to be present in the elements and present in places that are unexpected and things that are unexpected that we can't plan for. And at the same time, being submersing our tactile senses and things that are very physical, that we're not used to necessarily touching and feeling when we're doing life. And first of all, just to be outside that time of year in the area that we're going to be at is stunning. I know on the website you talk about storm watching, and for some people they're like, what is that? Why is that a thing? And it's a big thing because you get to see the power and the magnificence of Mother Nature, and you get to be in something that is so much bigger than we are. And for me, I live for moments like that, where I feel this big in a world that is like this big. And I start to realize that there's like this really cool, amazing orchestration that's happening that has nothing to do with me. And I'm a part of it, right? I'm like a little integral pinpoint in it. And the world wouldn't be the same without me. But at the same point in time, it allows me to be less like, oh, look at me and look at how awesome I am and look at all the things that I'm doing. Because it's like, you know what? The whole world is going on without you. So for me, there's a huge like spiritual component to that. And I think that's part of this area that we're going to be in, is this majesty of this storm presence, of this amazing power that we actually can't even influence. So even just standing outside in that is amazing. And then at the same point in time, I know you mentioned earlier, the water is my home. It always has been my home. And there is a really beautiful cleansing aspect to the water that I encourage people to put their feet in. I know it's going to be the fall and I know it's going to be cold, but when you put your feet in the water and you feel it wash over your feet, and you can't think of anything else other than how cold the water is, right? You can't be like, oh, I relieve my groceries and I wonder about my dog. And it's like, as soon as that water hits your feet, you are immediately connected to that moment in time. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, we've got the sand and the texture of the sand on your fingers and on your feet. All of a sudden it's like, again, instead of me just giving you crayons to color with, I've given you clay to mold. You know, it's like a whole nother level. So now your coloring book isn't 2D. Now you can make your experience 3D. So it's like you can draw things in the sand with your feet and your hands. You can throw it if you want to throw it. You can roll around in it if you want to roll around in it. You're going to feel things like seaweed, and you're going to touch it, and you're going to it's like slimy. And then it's like, what does that make you feel like? And how does that experience for you? And then, you know, when the song comes on, it's like there might be a song that comes on, and all of a sudden you're hit with this feeling of, you know, this song is all about me standing in my power, let's say, right? It's like all of a sudden you just hear that drum beat, and you're like, you feel that kind of like warrior essence inside of you. And that's where you take that song. And that warrior essence is about planting your feet firmly in the earth. And it's not just like on a laminate floor, you know, it's like you're digging your toes into the earth and into the sand. And that is just hugely powerful for your experience. There's something amazing about Mother Nature, and to be able to completely submerge our experience in our physical presence and senses is highly, highly therapeutic. And it can help people move through things in a way that you can't in, you know, these machined and perfectly finished walls and flooring that we're usually in a classroom. So
yeah, oh my God, that's it just sounds even more amazing than it did when we first talked about it. I know, like for me, you know, I have been surfing in that part of the world in my younger years, and I can remember in particular being in Tofino and trying to get out into the surf and just getting like slapped in the face with a wave, right? And I remember thinking, it was like, you better wake the freak up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking, oh my God, like what is going on? Right?
Yeah.
And for me, that was like a very powerful kind of moment in nature for me at that time in my life. It was, and like it translated into a lot more. It actually was one of the things that kind of spurned me to go travel. It was like, all of a sudden, like the power of a wave in your face when you're not expecting it is huge, right? Yeah. And it was like, whoa. And then it was like, oh, like wake up. It was like nature was saying, wake up. Yes. And go and do something, right? Yeah. And so, I ended up going traveling, which was supposed to be 6 months and lasted like 12 years. But that whole kind of vision of, I love the feet in the sand, and like I have felt that before, where I've been, you know, hearing music like in your studio even, and hearing a song, and it's like, I need to go into the ground with this, right?
I need to get below the floor.
Right? Like, how do I get in the floor?
Yes, totally.
Right? And it's powerful, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And like the celebration of nature is just huge, right?
Yeah. And permission to get messy. I think that's the other thing for, you know, we spend so much of our lives being pulled together and having our makeup on and having our hair done and having our clothes clean and all of that, and giving permission and the invitation to get messy and have it not be something that's negative, right? Like, again, when we were in Hawaii, it was, I'm going to keep referring back to that for the rest of my life because I'm going to be retiring there, and it was like phenomenal. But it's like, there were moments where I just sat on the sand in my swimsuit, getting sand in all of the crevices, simply because I could, right? It's like, I remember very literally going to sit down somewhere where we didn't have our blankets and we didn't have our towels. And I was like, oh, I can't sit down. And I was like, why can't I sit down? And I was like, I'm sitting my bare ass in the sand right now. This is what's happening. And I did. And I remember getting up and not giving two rips about the fact that I had sand glued to my butt for the rest of the day. Like, So there's just like this really cool, like, reclamation of our own will as soon as we like allow ourselves to get completely covered in nature and just not really care about it.
Right.
You know, who cares if you get sand in your ears? It will come out.
Or
It's like
seaweed in your hair.
Seaweed in your hair. I'm sure it's like some nourishing treatment that people.
I know. You're like, get that down in there.
It's like, I want people getting on the ferry to leave this event and still finding parts of nature in their bodies.
That used to happen to me when I surfed. Like, I'd find like bits of wood and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
rocks and you know, like I float now, and I'm always finding like salt on my body, something in my ear, or you know, some weird spot, and it's like
totally.
But that's awesome. Oh my God. Well, I think the event is blessed by everybody who is coaching there and everybody who's present and all the participants, because everybody's going to bring something that needs to be experienced in that room, or, you know, in that place, wherever we happen to be. And I really feel that the people who end up there were the people who absolutely needed to be there.
I agree.
Yeah. So I want to thank you so much for jumping on board my vision of this, right? And bringing all the awesomeness that you bring to everything that you touch, and taking the time today to chat and share everything about it with everybody who happens to watch this.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, Michelle. I'm so excited to see what's going to be unfolding in this weekend.
Okay. So thank you, whoever happens to view our video. And if any of this speaks to you, you can reach out to myself, Michelle Cooper, or Aryn Savard, or any of the other coaches, or the event page, or whatever it is. However you want to make contact with us, let's talk about how you could be at Storm.
Absolutely.
Okay, talk to you later.